Call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Warrenville Public Library District. It is Wednesday, October 21st at 7:03 p.m. This meeting is held as a virtual meeting, given that the Illinois governor has declared the coronavirus pandemic a disaster. I have determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of this disaster.
Okay, I need you to get my stuff up on there.
Right.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to take the roll call now. Trustee Luzon.
Here,
Trustee Richardson. She's not in the queue, right?
All right.
She is not.
Trustee Ritzika. Present. Trustee Stahl.
Present.
Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee DeRocher.
Is coming in.
Yes, that's why I waited. I saw
I'm
that.
muted. Here.
All right.
Thank you.
yeah, my email.
Ritzika is also
I
present.
emailed it to you.
All right, so item number 3 on your agenda will be the approval of the agenda. I'm suggesting we remove items 19 and 20, which are closed session and discussion thereof. I would also remind the trustees, if there's anything on the consent agenda you wish to discuss with the group, we should remove
Look at
it,
the library.
make it part of new business. And I also
Email it to
would
me.
like
It's
to
easiest.
determine if we can eliminate the 10A, which Sandy had sent an email about and is included in the packet. Is there anyone who wants to discuss the closure of the library on election day? Or are you happy with Sandy's decision?
Happy.
Okay, then I suggest we remove 10A as well. Anybody have anything they wish to remove, change, edit on the consent agenda? Trustee Richardson is here. Did you get that?
I have it
My
noted.
glasses are fogging up, guys, so. Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Stowe and seconded by trustee Warren. Any discussion? Okay, and just remember, we'll need a roll call vote on everything tonight since we are virtual. Trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Luzon,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Hi.
trustee Ritzika,
Aye.
trustee Stowe,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye. The agenda is approved. Director Whitmer has a presentation.
So
for-
I do have a presentation. Gail is out in the lobby area.
Did I go get her?
I don't know, Gail, do you want to come in and be recognized and wave to the folks on the camera?
Oh, she can-
Yeah,
I hear her
she's-
laughing.
she's laughing.
she's coming.
I can't see her laughing.
She's coming. She's laughing.
She's here.
So I personally would like to thank Gail for 5 years of service at the library. Okay. Gail's always been a very hard worker and willing to contribute whatever is necessary. But since Lou moved on, her supervisor, in January, Gail has been learning many, many new things, and I appreciate her willingness to learn and try new things. So Gail, thank you, and thank you. I think everybody here would, on the staff, would say that Gail is a bright spot in all of our days. So thank you very much.
And it's really a pleasure, Gail, to see you at the board meetings too.
Yeah, she is, and she is my right-hand person on Wednesday nights. Next month, she will not be here, correct? I think she will be out of town. So I have to find somebody else to fill Gail's shoes next month.
We'll work on finding a suitable replacement.
Okay, sounds good. So thank you, Gail.
Gail.
Thank you, Gail. I really wish I could eat some cake.
Okay.
All right, moving on to item 5, public comments. Sandy, is there any public on the call?
There are staff on the call. I can unmute all of them, or usually we ask that people email us their comments before the meeting. I did not receive any email comments.
All right, so do they have the ability to chat?
I have to unmute them all, bring them into the meeting and then, okay.
Because it does say that you should do it.
Yep. All right.
Correspondence, please. Item 6.
I do not have any correspondence this evening.
Okay, moving on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. Secretary Lazan, can you read for us the consent agenda, please?
All right, consent agenda. A, approved minutes of the September 16, 2020 Budget and Appropriation Hearing. B, approved minutes of the September 16th, 2020 Regular Board of Trustees meeting. C, approved minutes of the closed session of the September 16th, 2020 Regular Board of Trustees meeting. Excuse me.
Okay.
D, receive and file financial report for September. E, approve payments of invoices in the amount of $56,145.31 for the period of September 17th, 2020 through October 21st, 2020, including electronic payments and checks number 7888 through 7954, checks number 7912 and 7913 are voided. F, approve transfer of $125,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion was made by trustee
I
Warren
second.
and seconded by trustee Rizika. Trustee DeRosa,
Oh, it's muted.
hold on.
Sorry. Aye.
Trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee Rizika,
Aye.
trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Pika votes aye, motion carried. Item 8, regular agenda. I don't see anything listed for discussion. Item 9, unfinished business. Again, I don't see anything listed there. We'll move to page 25 in your packet, which is to extend library hours of operation to 4 p.m. on Wednesday, the 25th. So, do you have a motion to, it's on 25?
I move that we change the library's closing time on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020 from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and authorize Director Whitmer to pay employees for holiday pay commensurate to what is stated in the employee handbook.
I second.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Rizika. Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Do you want to have discussion?
We get to discuss
Yes,
this?
I'm sorry, any discussion? Sorry, Jill.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, I guess, just, I'm sure you can explain this to me and ease my mind, but I'm kind of putting together, the notes on the seminar in the back about employee retention, wanting more flexible hours and that sort of thing from what you learned. And I'm hearing we don't want to close on election day and we want to extend hours on the day before Thanksgiving. Those don't mesh to me. So can you help me mesh those?
I can't help you mesh those, other than the fact that we're in a pandemic. So the election day was something that was legislation that was passed. And it was found not to include municipalities. So if the board wishes, we can certainly review the library schedule and holidays and holiday pay. That would be a board decision. And so that's possible. The reason for this particular closure on the 25th of November is simply a consistency issue. We've cut back our operating hours because of the pandemic. Because we don't have the staff to work the hours that I would prefer that they be here, I would prefer that our hours be consistent Monday through Friday. It's difficult for people to remember, oh, Mondays you're here from 10 to 4, Tuesdays you're here from 1 to 7, Wednesdays you're here from 10 to 4. Thursdays, you're here from 1 to 7. And then if we throw in this day before Thanksgiving, oh, but the day before Thanksgiving, we're going to be here just from 10 to 1. It's a one-time exception is what it is. And honestly, some of the staff are aware of this. It's unusual for a library to close at 1 o'clock the day before Thanksgiving. Many are open their normal hours. Some close at 5 o'clock. Others close the day after Thanksgiving. So it's certainly something that we can
I think this is
look at.
acceptable the way it is.
It's definitely a one-time thing, the day before Thanksgiving. Election day, the law says that we have to provide staff the ability to go vote if their schedule does not allow them to go vote. So if we had someone who was working from 6 in the morning till 7 at night or whatever the schedule is, we as an employer would be required to allow them time off to go vote.
Okay.
So those do exist, but definitely that's something we have to look at as a complete picture.
And,
Yeah.
oh, the library's closed Thursday for Thanksgiving and Friday,
Just Thursday.
Thursday. People still need to get
So
their,
Sandy,
their
do you have any, do you anticipate having any difficulty getting those hours staffed?
They've already been scheduled to work that day.
Okay.
There's probably
So-
not very many people traveling. I mean.
No. No. So, yep.
Other questions or concerns? Okay, we have a motion on the table. Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Hi.
trustee Luzon,
Aye.
trustee Rizika, trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye, the motion carries. I'll turn the floor over to the director, Sandra Whitmer.
Okay. So there's just one thing before I delve into the pandemic. I did want to point out that the auditors from Sikich were here in early October to finish up the audit work. And Brian Lefevre will be here at the November, he'll be here in quotation marks. He'll be joining us via Zoom to give his report next month to the board. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. But as far as the pandemic and the announcement that DuPage County and Kane County and some other counties are kind of taking a step back and having some mitigations mainly for bars and restaurants, I did want to touch on how that impacts the library. So you're just kind of all aware of where we're at. So unlike a bar or a restaurant where you're sitting at a table and you have to remove your mask to eat or drink, that is not the case in the library. So people in the library are here for grab and go. They're here for limited time. We require them to social distance, and they always have to have their mask on. So we differ a little bit. So our operations right now are not going to change at all. We're still going to continue to offer grab and go. We'll continue to offer curbside service for those people who want it. And we will continue to allow people to use the computers. We did extend the computer time to 55 minutes, I believe. So it's a little bit longer for people who need those resources. However, the state of Illinois has different tiers, and I'm not quite sure what their metrics are for the next tier. This is a tier 1 mitigation. I suspect if there are an increase in hospitalizations, a continued increase in the positivity rate, things could get bumped up to tier 2. If tier 2 mitigations are implemented, or if we step back from phase 4 to phase 3, then we would close the building and we would go back to offering only curbside service. So that would be the trigger for us to take a step back from what we are doing. But that's where we're at right now. We're looking at bringing in tables to the library because honestly, if we have individuals sitting at tables, and we can do it right, it really isn't any different than having individuals sitting at the computer for a limited period of time. And that would allow people to bring in their own devices to use our Wi-Fi. So that is something that we're going through. I did survey the public services staff, and thanks to all of them, I have some great information and great input that we can use to develop and finish up the plans for that.
Do we have
A step.
tables in storage, or would they be like these tables, or?
We have, it would be like these tables that are in the meeting room, or there are some tables in storage as well. So yes, we would bring back some of our furniture out onto the floor. But that's still a work in progress. Anyway,
I know one thing I was going to ask. I had heard that some of it also depends on the air quality or the number of times, say, the air changes. So I didn't know how you could say air quality was in the library, if we have adequate, I don't know if ventilation's the right word, but maybe circulation.
I don't have the information on that. I don't know that Jackie does or
Okay.
Lee does. I do not know that answer. Certainly it's something I could have Jackie and Lee look into. We might have to have an outside firm come in and do a study of that.
Because I know that at the county, that's one thing they're doing is doing more, I wish I could think of the technical term, but bringing it in so that there is more turnover in the air, I guess, so that I know that's one thing they're saying, like with airlines, the number, you know, the way they turn over the air, that's something to,
Right,
Could it be the
I think
balance?
that's called an exchange ratio, but I'm not sure.
right.
right. I believe that Lee has it set to bring in more fresh air from the outside than it would have normally been set at.
Okay,
And one of my considerations with the placement of these tables, we do not have many windows in this building that open. But one of my considerations for placing tables is that they would be placed near windows that could be opened so that, you know, there would be fresh air in the places where people are seated for a period of time. But there are no screens on those windows or anything, so
right.
we'll have to see. But I can, maybe Jackie's on the call, she can note that and we can try to get an answer for you about the turnover ratio.
Might be possible to, Sandy, some businesses I see are leaving entry doors open,
Right,
which helps with what Rick was talking about. There is a balance. You can have more outside air coming in before you use
right. The
or
challenge,
recycle.
right. And the challenge with opening doors here is that it's going to be winter. So then that would be a challenge, but
There's challenges with everything.
Right. and just, I would think just the people coming and going through the front doors brings fresh air into the building normally. But so I'm sure Jackie has got that noted and she'll look into it with Lee.
I see her shaking her head.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I don't think I have anything else there. Does anybody else?
Could you talk a little more about the tax objection listed on the bottom of page?
Sure.
27?
Can you repeat the question? I couldn't hear it.
So she asked about if I would touch on the tax objection note that's at the bottom of page 27. Yes. So when we levy our taxes, this particular objection is to the building maintenance fund. We are allowed to accrue or keep an accumulation of up to, I think it's 1.5 to 2 times the amount of what we've spent on average over the previous 3 years. So in our building maintenance fund, we have several projects budgeted that we just have not had time to get to. And that has led to an accumulation of funds, a fund balance that exceeds that 2 times limit.
Okay.
And I did speak with I didn't speak with her, we conversed via email, the DuPage County State's attorney regarding this matter. And she had recalculated our amounts based on more current numbers. And she had recommended that the objection be withdrawn, and that did not happen. So we're working with the attorney. And I've actually authorized him to try to settle for 1/2 of the amount that they are requesting.
So this is a citizen that made this objection?
No, there are businesses, property owners of big businesses that hire attorneys, and the attorneys review all the tax levies. So there's a packet that's maybe 40 to 60 pages long of tax objections that have been filed against all sorts of taxing districts.
Okay.
So we aren't alone in this. We had several of these on the books when I started in 2006. And it can take 5 or 6 years to get these things settled. So
It'll be difficult now.
I can vouch for that because I've seen them at the county, and sometimes it's like the same businesses every year that object to the different taxing districts. And they're huge files. They're not teeny tiny, they're huge.
right. So
Thank you. I just wanted
Yep.
clarification.
You're
Because
welcome.
It's actually the first time I think I've seen it.
Sandy, I have a question about the Swan update. Could you
Swan
just,
update.
yes, could you just remind us about timeline? I'm not
Timeline.
remembering.
Yes. I don't have, I'm going to look at my phone calendar. So we will be going live in Swan on, hold on. It's the week of December 7th. It's actually on Wednesday, December 9th. That is the date that will go live in the system. There are some things, and Kathy has some bookmarks that we'll be getting from Swan to help people understand what the timeline is. I'm sorry I don't have it with me tonight. I'll make a note, make sure you have it in next month's packet. But beginning on November 23rd, there is actually a data freeze. So we will not be able to add any new data or change anything in the system. That would mean we can't add new items. And there is also a period of time where we won't be able to check any items in, but at the rate we're going, we're not checking items in right away anyway, so it's not going to make a huge difference there. But there are some ways that our patrons will be impacted, so we are working on communication plans for some of that, but these bookmarks will have some details. But I'll make a note and try to give you a more detailed timeline in next month's packet. Great question.
Thanks. And then I also have another question about COVID.
Yes.
We rolled back from a 3-day return quarantine, I guess, to a 7-day return quarantine. I'm wondering, with the increased restrictions, if you anticipate us having to roll back further than 7 days and what that impact would have on circulation.
So believe it or not, discussion is in the works to go back to a 3-day quarantine at the library system level. The study that's called Realm that has been happening, there has been some question by scientists and other researchers about the validity of what they are finding and whether this all really hinges on whether or not the virus is transmitted through surfaces, or really, as we all know, I think now it's more airborne than surface transmission. So the state of Oregon actually released a memo, the state library, they worked with their state health department, and the state health department reviewed the Realm study and found that a 24-hour quarantine of materials was actually more than sufficient. So they've actually rolled back to 24 hours. So the libraries in this area have asked Rails to coordinate with the state library and see if they can get the Illinois Department of Health involved in examining that data and giving some specific actual guidance to libraries about this, what's the safest way to proceed. So I don't see it going to a longer quarantine. It's more likely to go to fewer days. But the goal, I think it's on the agenda for the Rails board meeting this week. And it sounds as if the goal is to have all the different library systems in the state and the delivery systems, have it all with a coordinated timeline for those quarantines. So I think that that would help everyone. We're all struggling. I think if you talk to Jamie, the 7-day quarantine on items and leaving things on people's accounts, it's a challenge for our members. It's confusing. I think it can confuse us just as easily. So if we could reduce that time, we will. Great question.
Okay, and there have been some great questions. Are there more? If not, I thank you, Sandy. Great report. Are you okay? Barbara, are you,
I'm sorry, I'm here. What?
did you have something? I saw a hand and.
No, I'm sorry. I was telling my mom she needed to take her phone call into a different room.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Poor mom.
Moving
She was like yelling into the phone. I'm like, Mom, I can't even hear myself think over here.
Moving on to department head reports. I just have a couple things. First of all, I know Jill referenced it, but Jackie's report, if you didn't get a chance to look at it, you may want to do so. She attended some seminars or a seminar with some different, I don't know what you want, breakout sessions, and she left us some very, very interesting information. Spent a lot of time on her report. And public services, I was just blown away. 2,157 visitors for grab and go during the pandemic. For some reason, that seemed like a great number to me, guys. So, and we still continue to hold events, and they had 37 of them. So I thought that was excellent. And yes, we're still working on bubbles because the self-checkout station was 68%. It went down 1%. Somebody's no longer, maybe they're doing grab and go. Although I suspect we drive all the grab and go through the self-service checkout, right?
Yes, as much as possible. I will say too, while you're on grab and go and the checkouts, I am really pretty pleasantly surprised by the number of items, the physical items that have actually been checked out. Last September, we checked out 8,600 books. This year, we checked out 6,500. I don't think that's too shabby for the, you know, for what's happening here. So,
That's my point.
Um,
It's a great report.
yep. So that's good.
I do have, I don't know whether Kathy is on the call or not. I do, so maybe you could just ask her. This is a I want to know, not anything significant. She gave us an open rate number to look at as far as her statistics for the weekly e-news. I was wondering if for her social media accounts, if she has any goals or average for comparison basis. I don't know whether that's even something that exists in her world, but I was just curious how we benchmark on a par with other things. So
I'm going to bring Kathy in. Sorry, Kathy.
anything like that.
Kathy, are you able to just unmute yourself? I don't know if you have anything to add to that,
Hi there.
or if you heard the
Hi,
question.
Kathy.
Honestly, I don't think I quite heard the question.
Okay. So on your weekly e-news, you gave us an open rate that said consistently higher than or on par with the industry average of 25%, which I think that's wonderful, which led my little brain to say, boy, I wonder if we have any comparison points for social media. In other words, our page followers or our average daily views on Twitter. Are there industry standards that you look at for those areas, or is that just not available information?
I would say that there aren't industry averages per se. I could start looking at some other libraries, but there are so many variables involved.
So I just thought since you got that open rate, you might have access to other statistics. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments about the department head reports? Okay. And we'll move on to the president's report. We will meet in November. we'll determine whether it will be virtual or on person. Because we can do the truth and taxation like we've done others via Zoom, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then on page 43, there is a list of items that will be covered in our November meeting. If you want to look at any of those, should you have questions prior to the meeting for Sandy, it might help her direct her comments during the meeting. Treasurer's report.
I have some very good news that now we are now up to 98% of our collecting our real estate taxes, our property taxes. So at this time last year, just for a comparison, the county had distributed 99%. So we're only 1% off. Possibly it'll trickle in. And then the developer donations, the balance as of September 30th is $259,057.25. So, and Director Whitmer has submitted the request for the release of $155,422.50 for the debt certificate principal and interest that's due December 1. So everything's looking good.
Yeah, real good.
And you can truly say that with that report. Thank you very much. Trustee Lazan, Secretary's report.
Everything looks good.
Are there any committee reports tonight?
No.
Moving on to 17, trustee comments. I would just like to state that when you read the reports of the different departmental heads, even though they are dealing with a unique situation, as we've talked before, there sure is a lot of stuff getting done in this library when you read what they've been, whether working on, marketing, all the groups. So if you have time, you might want to dig a little deeper in there because these folks have been working very hard according to the reports. So thank you to the staff.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 18, items for information or discussion. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, objections? Okay, we have one last motion. If I could hear a motion to adjourn, please.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Who was that, please?
Rick and Heather.
Okay, motion was made by trustee Warren and seconded by trustee Stoll. Trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee Rizika,
Aye.
trustee Stoll,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye. The meeting is adjourned. I thank you all. I wish you well. I hope you are staying safe.